I thought I was watching a movie, Towering Inferno at first. And then I looked real close, and I noticed it was the World Trade Center. When I was watching the television, I saw a lot of, the ferries going up into the slips and taking people off. I said, fine, we could do the same thing. And that's what we did.
On the morning of September 11th, when the towers came down, millions of people ran for safety. Hundreds of thousands of them ran south to the water's edge. That's when they realized that Manhattan is indeed an island, and that they were trapped.
What was a person on the ground going to do? Buildings were down. There were people laying under the rubble of the building. Firemen, civilians.
They were trying to evacuate Manhattan because nobody knew what was going on.
They were just streaming out of the buildings, and the first mode of transportation they saw was a ferry boat. So they didn't even care where the boat was going.
There wasn't panic in New York until the first building fell, that there was panic.
You heard the building go down, but we're in the slip, so we can't see it. That's when we started letting go, and then all of a sudden, engulfed. You couldn't see anything.
Every mode of transportation out of Manhattan was shut down.
Boats were, for the first time in over a century, the only way in or out of Lower Manhattan.
The process actually had already started. There were some boats that were grabbing people, that people were lined up at the walls.
On the left, on the left, on the left.
They didn't know what was going on. They seen the building getting hit with these two planes. As far as they was concerned, we were being bombed.
Everybody was in shock, running around. They didn't want to leave their families. They had loved ones running around the city.
Everybody has a baby!
There was a small boat that was at the lower tip of Manhattan. I thought the boat was going to flip over because so many people were trying to get on. And as I looked behind, they were just 10 deep. So we decided to make the call on the radio. All available boats. This is the United States Coast Guard aboard the pilot boat in New York. Anyone want to help with the evacuation of Lower Manhattan? Report to Governor's Island. About 15, 20 minutes later, there are just boats all across the horizon.
Literally 100 targets converging on the lower part of Manhattan.
Tugboats. I've never seen so many tugboats all at once.
There was just like a fleet of tugboats headed to Manhattan.
Ferries, private boats, party boats.
I've never seen that many boats come together at one time that fast. One radio call, and it just came together just that fast.
Hundreds of boats converged on the city, leaving the sun-bathed harbor behind them. Dead ahead, the unknown.
When we pulled into Pier 11, the dust was unbelievable.
And then out of nowhere, they just kept on seeing people coming.
Don't leave us. Please don't leave us here. Take us.
Do you need help? Do you need help?
Some of these people never been in the water, never been on a boat before.
Housewives, workers that do windows.
We went back and forth all day long, carrying boatloads, as many as our boat would hold.
No training. This was just people doing what they had to do that day.
You forget all about what you're supposed to do, what they teach you in school, and you say, you know what? Morally, this is the right way to go, and deep down, this is what I'm gonna do.
I do feel a way honored that I was a part of it.
That was the greatest thing I ever did with my life.
The greatest day that I've ever seen in all my boating. My life on the water.
The Great Boat Lift of 9/11 became the largest sea evacuation in history. Larger than the evacuation of Dunkirk in World War II, where 339,000 British and French soldiers were rescued over the course of 9 days. On 9/11, nearly 500,000 civilians were rescued from Manhattan by boat. It took less than 9 hours.
One of the first ways that Jimmy and I bonded as kids was sharing stories with each other that we couldn't share with other friends of ours, mostly other guy friends of ours. That got us through difficult periods in our lives. So we knew firsthand how important it is to have a friend that you can open up to.
When we met Jonathan, he was the same way.
You were in a group home? Yeah.
It was important for us to be friends because it was a movie about me and my friend as well. That was always the thing, oh, how are we gonna make the friendship believable? But when we met Jonathan, it was it wasn't hard to do it because he just became our third brother sort of thing, and he just understood.
You guys wanna go for a schwitz?
Kofi was hard trying to cast in some ways because we wanted to find someone from San Francisco who felt like people we grew up with, who understood the mask and the facade that sometimes men have to wear when there's a pressure to be tough. We met Jamal by chance at an after-school program, and Jamal wandered in and he was working there, and he asked us what we were doing, and we started telling him about the movie, and immediately he said, "Oh, this character is me."
You're okay there. You're okay there.
Man, take your weird ass out
Keep
of here.
building it.
What he was saying is he felt like he understood this character was under the same pressures that he had been under growing up.
For black men, man, I think we will learn a lot more about ourselves watching this film, because there's so many poignant moments that stand up that speak for us.
We're seeing the landscape of American cities changing drastically. And so I've been in San Francisco my whole life. I came back after we were done editing, and just in the 6 months I've been away. Half of the street, it's like all these restaurants are gone, you know? It's a very strange feeling. You start to feel like you don't have a home. Where is home? You know, where do you fit? And I feel like Jimmy's incredible story is, for a lot of people, I think, you know, connects to that question of where do we belong.
It's just you two stick together.
The reception has been great. I mean, it's been, men coming up to us who are kind of uncomfortable even saying I thought that, thank you for being vulnerable, man. They're just they don't want to say it, but that's why I think it's important for kids to see it too, to know that you can be vulnerable with your friend and stuff. So it was very important, but Jonathan was a big part of that. But so is everyone. It's been a collaborative thing, and everyone's kind of vulnerable and understanding and empathetic. Everyone that worked on this film, I feel like.
Testing, testing. It's time to stand up, is that right?
That's right.
Is it time to march?
That's right.
Justice is like running a relay. You run your circle, and then you pass the baton.
It is a crime for people to live in this rich nation and receive starvation wages.
Reverend William Barber is leading the movement to fulfill the unfinished Poor People's Campaign.
We must be committed to building a movement in America that says no more blaming the poor.
Now I'm a Kansas farmer's wife. Kansas farmers are committing suicide. Why? They're usually in debt, up to their eyeballs.
I worked 41 years in the coal mines. I have black lung.
And I'm from Flint, Michigan. You can't imagine being in my footsteps. I have children who have never had the experience of drinking from the tap.
There is this deep crisis. People are feeling it.
We are here because we're going to win living wages. We are here because we're going to win housing rights and equitable education and the right to thrive, not just barely survive.
We stood on the balcony where Dr. King was murdered and vowed to pick up the torch and carry it on.
Until every vote is protected, until every person is respected, we've got to hold it up. We're re-engaging direct action of all forms, nonviolently, voter mobilization, training from the bottom up. Everybody who sets policy ought to be ashamed, and we're going to put it on the map in a powerful coalition. I'm hopeful when I see the people coming together around the nation. When I see all of these movements, whether it be Moral Monday, Black Lives Matter, the fight for 15.
This is Dr. King's dream, people.
When we all get together, we are an instrument of redemption. It's better to die having fought for justice than to live and stood on the sidelines and watch injustice have its way without a challenge.
The Garhwal region of India is tucked up from where the Ganges hits the foothills of the Himalayas on up to Tibet. And it was the old trade route, and as a pilgrimage route, it took about 3 months. And it's really interesting that the economy and spiritual life in that area are all tied together. So when the great reformers, Ram, Krishna, Sankaracharya, came through there and left their treasures, which we were literally in pursuit of, they were not only bringing spiritual rejuvenation, they were bringing economic rejuvenation. So
you think that if a person walks along the yatra, on the pilgrimage route, he actually feels more spiritual satisfaction?
Spiritual satisfaction. I think that what I am getting here, and also the sheep, the murti of sheep, I can touch on Kedarnath, but no touching of Badrinath. I touch, and what I am feeling, I can't just explain you.
We began our trek up to Lopal by foot and by pony, because this is one area that's exactly like the entire region was up until the 1960s. The only way you can go to this pilgrimage site is by foot or by pony. There's no cars here. And it's been like that for at least 3,000 years. Now, the people in this area, the entire region, the Garhwalis, are believed to be descendants of nobility from the plains who refused to live under the Mughal occupation. They farm in this amazingly lush valley, which is uniquely protected from the fierce Himalayan winds, and they provide for the pilgrims. Just as...
Where are we now, Maharaji? Pulna. It's called Pulna. It's a 9-month village. They come for here for 9 months and then they go up on the mountain for 3 months.
Summit of Lopal, and there's a little temple there to Lakshman that Hindus been coming for well over 3,000 years. And there was a little statue there. A few years ago, someone wanted to replace that little temple. They broke the statue. A week later, the man who did it was dead.
We are on the top of the world, and all the peaks are covered with snow, and it's amazing to see that even at these heights and passing a great difficulty on a great train, people still remember God.
For millenniums, people of all faiths have been coming into these mountains, which to them is the center of life of the planet, representing the higher consciousness of a man. coming to be purified, but all I know is I'm not pure. I was cold, my socks were wet.
Throughout this entire year, as we've discussed the Green New Deal, I've noticed that there's been an awful lot of misinformation about what is inside this resolution. As a consequence, I've realized that many of my colleagues have never even read the resolution that they're speaking on. This hour would be spent best reading it to them for the public record. Resolution on H-Res 109, recognizing the duty of the federal government to create a Green New Deal. Human activity is the dominant cause of observed climate change over the past century. Changing climate is causing sea levels to rise. Mass migration from the regions most affected by climate change. Wildfire, a loss of more than 99% of all coral reefs. Global temperatures must be kept below 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrialized reductions in greenhouse gas emissions from human sources. Net zero global emissions by 2050. Take a leading role in reducing emissions through economic transformation. Several related crises, with one, life expectancy declining, a trend of wage stagnation. The third worst level of socioeconomic mobility in the developed world. The erosion of earning and bargaining power of workers in the United States. The top 1% of earners accruing 91% of gains, a large racial wealth divide, women earning approximately 80% as much as men, systemic racial, regional, social, environmental, and economic injustices disproportionately affecting indigenous peoples, communities of color, migrant communities, deindustrialized communities, depopulated rural communities. Climate change constitutes a direct threat to the national security of the United States, a historic opportunity of good, high-wage jobs in the United States, provide unprecedented levels of prosperity. Therefore, be it resolved. It is the duty of the federal government to create to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions, to create millions of good, high-wage jobs, ensure prosperity and economic security, invest in the infrastructure and industry of the United States, to be accomplished through a 10-year national mobilization, building resiliency against climate change-related disasters, repairing and upgrading the infrastructure in the United States, eliminating pollution and greenhouse gas emissions, guaranteeing universal access to clean water, ensuring that any infrastructure bill considered by Congress addresses climate change, meeting 100% of the power demand in the United States through clean, renewable, and zero-emission energy sources, and ensuring affordable access to electricity to achieve maximum energy efficiency, expanding renewable energy manufacturing, working collaboratively with farmers and ranchers in the United States, removing greenhouse gases from the atmosphere, and reducing pollution by restoring natural ecosystems, cleaning up existing hazardous waste and abandoned sites. A Green New Deal will require the following goals and projects: providing resources, training, and high-quality education, research and development of new clean and renewable energy technologies and industries, high-quality union jobs that pay prevailing wages, adequate family and medical leave, paid vacations, and retirement security to all people of the United States, enacting and enforcing trade rules, ensuring that public lands, waters, and oceans are protected, obtaining the free, prior, and informed consent of Indigenous peoples for all decisions that affect Indigenous peoples, providing all people of the United States with high-quality health care is every word in the Green New Deal. And I want every person in this body and across the country to ask themselves why this is so controversial. Because for years, we have prioritized the pursuit of profit at any and all human and environmental cost. And I humbly ask my colleagues and my country to question our priorities for once.
My name is Andy Mackey, and I'm standing in the Gurley Orchard in Mendocino, California. I've been working in this orchard for about 8 years. The main thing I do here is take care of all the various fruit trees. I have a very intimate relationship with this orchard. I've been asked if I look at each tree like an individual friend or something, but I look at it more like a collective organism, which is sort of how I see all of the relationships that happen in this orchard.
Now what is that you're putting on?
This is oyster shell flour. Keep the pH neutral and basically, yeah, and adds calcium to the soil. The worms will come up and drag this stuff down. Tree to enjoy.
So you work for the tree and the worms work for you.
Yeah,
Huh.
It's a group effort. I'm not really looking to achieve anything in the future beyond maintaining how good things are now. I'm happy with what I've done, but I don't think I can take credit for an apple tree. I didn't make an apple tree. There are various ways to measure success in this line of work. One of them is just the fulfillment I get from doing the job as good as I can. The other is the fulfillment I get from when my clients are pleased with the work. This tree, which is kind of poor health, so I'm going to plant fava beans underneath it. And when the fava beans are in flower, I'll cut the top off of the fava bean and the roots will then feed the apple. It's a very simple and cheap way of fertilizing.
That's amazing though.
And ultimately, it's the best is when you get a good crop of apples to boot. But I'll feel fulfilled even with a bad crop, which never happens.
The Navajo Nation is spread out over 27,000 square miles and has representation in Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. We serve a population of 170,000 people, and we have been hit very hard by the COVID virus. We this time the most cases per capita in the country, and we've recorded over 400 deaths. A lot of our communication is done via radio and then via newspaper. We don't have the great broadband width that we need out here to get to everybody. So we've had to use methods to get the word out into the public about the curfews, about the social distancing, social hygiene. We have people that have no running water. So hand washing, hand hygiene is challenging. In addition, we have multi-generational homes in very small spaces. So we're trying to promote social distancing, and it's just physically impossible. It's really put a burden on an already burdened system for us to try to overcome all of these disparities. So grateful for President Nez and his willingness to work together with everyone to come to the best decisions. We shut down non-essential businesses, shut down the schools, the casinos. We did a lot of shelter in place, curfews every night, 57-hour curfews on the weekend. And I think the fact that there's been this unified response, I really do believe it made a huge difference.
How did the Navajo Nation reduce their numbers in a short period of time? And it's because of you. Thank you to the Navajo people for listening and hearing.
I think we've been very fortunate that a lot of our partners and the Navajo Nation itself have provided a delivery of about millions of meals, supplies for households. You know, it is crucial that when somebody is told to go home and quarantine or isolate, that we give them the tools to survive during that time and to stay well.
All on this side we have produce. So much produce.
I was born and raised here. When this pandemic started, World Central Kitchen, they needed a truck driver. I was delivering these boxes across different parts of the reservation. We'll send out about probably anywhere from 600, 700, up to 800 boxes a day. The whole point is to supply the people, the Navajo people, my people, here's food, medicine to stay healthy. We're all Navajos here on the reservation trying to help our fellow brothers and sisters.
I've always been hopeful because I think we've faced COVID head on. And even though we grieve every day for our losses, we are so grateful that there's been over 6,000 people that have recovered. And this is from working together. I always say, I think we're going to manifest what's in front of us, and what it's been for us has been love and compassion and gratitude and collaboration. The Navajo are strong and resilient, and we will endure. We will get through anything that we have to preserve our traditions and our people.
For years, Alexei Navalny has been the subject of investigations and detentions. The most vocal critic of Vladimir Putin has spent hundreds of days in prison in the past 8 years. But the scale of the raids is unprecedented. In more than 40 cities across Russia, offices linked to the country's main opposition figure were searched and employees detained. To Navalny it is clear the raids are President Putin's revenge for the loss of the ruling party in Sunday's elections.
This time he got really upset because of the tactical voting. As his offspring, his sweet child I would say, the United Russia Party has been busted in Moscow and seriously beaten in the regions.
Doctors at the hospital treating the poisoned Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny say his condition is improving and he's out of his medically induced coma.
Navalny fell into a sudden coma last month after taking ill on a flight from Serbia to Moscow. Many suspect foul play was at work.
The Germans released last week a statement from the hospital saying it was without a doubt that it was a Novichok nerve agent.
Nervenkampfstoff der Novichok-Gruppe.
Scientists in independent labs said that they had definitive proof that this was a Novichok group toxin, and they said this indicates poison.
It's a very conspicuously Russian poison. There are a lot more subtle ways within the armory of the Russian state to kill people.
Novichok was also used to poison Sergei Skripal, an exiled Russian officer in the UK in 2018.
That attack was intended to send a message to traitors that if you cross Vladimir Putin, your life is in danger. Russia, and particularly under Vladimir Putin, has ploughed a huge amount of resource into refining the art and the science of targeted assassination.
From Putin's perspective, this is a way of sending a very powerful message to anyone else who's going to challenge him or his power, that if you challenge me, you're going to die. He wants people to know that he did it. He just doesn't want to have legal responsibility for having done it.
And the hospital says that his condition has improved. However, they can't rule out any long-term damage. So he is now in the process of recovery, if you like.
They call it a pipeline, but those on the front lines know that black snake was sent for us to grow, to shed the skin our ancestors pray, of wounds old and calloused, so that we may stay, so that we may unite, unity our tool. No weapons are found in this court of rule. Men becoming ki'ais, steadfast in their guard, protecting women's hearts as their song become roots, roots to cast out healing for all sentient beings, to honor sacred mother, heart forward we heal. The salmon will run, the Mauna will breathe, the rivers will flow. The rainbow is here and prophecy tells us all generations will hear.
Stand up with the First Nations and our people that been living here for thousands of years. Stand up. We've been fighting for our freedom since the Nina and the Pinta and the Santa Maria. Stand up. Like Geronimo, Sitting Bull, Red Cloud, Crazy Horse, Leonard Peltier. Stand up. Now they poisoning the waters for our sons and our daughters, so we on the frontier. We won. One nation, one cause, one people, one tribe. Now it's us against the pipeline. Get on your feet for Standing Rock, and we'll show you how strong we could be when we unify.
To all my native people, recognize yourself, keep your head up. To all my tribal people, recognize yourself, keep your head up. To all my native people, to all the original people, to all my indigenous people, recognize yourself, keep your head up.
From the beginning, we was winning this game on planet Earth. It's been spinning, we've been living and dying, but giving birth, the first of many nations. Celebrating them days when all that got made came after what God made. These days, we cater to these internet memes, internet streams. It seems them streams aren't clean. We need the whole story seen where hassling before water has gasoline in it. Malcolm X moment, Martin Luther King with a dream and war bone it. Wounded knee plus Alcatraz doggone it. This is for the rock, with prayers we stand on it.
Oh yeah, we playing on it, the earth we camp on it. In a sweat lodge singing our songs with grandfathers. Heat rocks all in the spot, we splash on them with a beatbox from my boy, we jam on it. Said a prayer for the black snake killers. Praying on the front lines, they you're the realest. Stand for your people, stand for your family. Stand with Standing Rock, stand for humanity. Hey.
It takes a group of people who actually care about, Mother Earth and life and water being sacred and the land being sacred to say, we stand up.
To all my native people, recognize yourself, keep your head up. To all my tribal people, recognize yourself, keep your head up. To all my native people, to all the original people, to all my indigenous people, recognize yourself, keep your head up.
Mini Wachoni, water is life.
Mini Wachoni.
Water is life.
Water is life. Water is life.
Water is life.
I stand with Standing Rock. I stand with Standing Rock. I stand with Standing Rock. Stand up. Stand up.
Stand up. Stand up.
I stand with Standing Rock. Stand up.
Stand up, stand up, stand up. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Standing Rock, Standing Rock.
Standing Rock, we're standing feet as history is on a sad repeat. Is it liberty or we just acting free as our land depletes from these hands of greed? See, fate is found, how we face the hounds. Take a vow for these sacred grounds. Make a sound that'll shake them out. Say aloud, what can save us now?
What can save us now?